you might like to turn our attention to other stories of the day. Friday's strike by train guards and station staff will lead to only half of rail services running. Even more trains are likely to be cancelled on Saturday when it's the turn of train drivers to walk out. Well, let's find out a little bit more about these strikes and indeed the impact. Mick Lynch is RMT's General Secretary, joins me now. Mick, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us here on Talk. Some might say that on the weekend where we've got an FA Cup final, a whole range of events and summer underway and a test match and various people wanting to travel around the country, you and your staff, you're not exactly endearing yourself to the public, are you?
Well, we don't want to cause disruption. There's never a good day to have a strike. There's always something going on in the country and any day, and nobody ever congratulates us on picking a particular day and saying, well done, nothing was happening that day. So strikes are going to be disruptive. That's the nature of the beast. We've been at this a year now, just coming up. We don't want to be on strike. Our members behind me and right across the country on picket lines are taking strike action in defence of their jobs, in defence of the railway system, we believe, in defence of their terms and conditions. And we haven't had a pay rise for 4 years, our members. Our members are feeling the cost of living crisis as much as anyone else, maybe greater than some people in some ways. So all we want is a square deal and a settlement to this dispute. We can't get one because the government won't allow that.
Well,
they subsidise this dispute for nearly £5 billion.
OK, you say that you want to have a fair and reasonable offer, but there are people who ultimately they have to pay the wages because they have to pay higher ticket prices and they have to pay for this, or they pay through their taxation. People around the country are not receiving the sorts of pay rises that you are asking for. So how can you justify that when the people that you are paying, but they're not?
They should be. They should be receiving pay rises.
But they're not.
Dividends are up, the stock market's fine. Well, yeah, it's because the companies are extracting excess profit. During this dispute, the railway companies have paid out dividends of £160 million. The government has paid those railway companies in lost revenue £900 million. The cost of the economy during this dispute has been nearly £5 billion. We have got pay settlements in Scotland, in Wales with our private sector operators, the employers, the other employers that we deal with. The only place we haven't got a settlement is where Mark Harper, the Secretary of State, and Grant Shapps, his predecessor, have decided there will not be a settlement. So for dogmatic reasons, those taxpayers that you've mentioned have had to pay out £900 million into the pockets of the people that I negotiate with, while our members don't get paid, fares are up, and the trains are disrupted. They've admitted it would have been cheaper to settle the dispute than fight it. They're fighting it for ideological and dogmatic reasons.
OK, all understood.
Of the way the railway's funded.
OK, the offer is the offer. You say it's not enough. What are you asking for?
Well, we don't put a figure on what we're looking for. There are three elements to this dispute. There is the threat of redundancies that they're making out against our members that we have to deal with. They want to rip up all of their terms and conditions. They want to shut every booking office in Britain. They want to de-staff the stations. They have told us they want to introduce driver-only operation without guards. And they haven't given us a pay deal. So it's not just about pay. And I've said that in every interview that I've done so far. They also want us to just stop the dispute and then negotiate on all these changes, which we can't do. If I had the chance to negotiate just with the employers, we could get a settlement to this dispute in a matter of days.
OK.
The fact is that the government is vetoing a settlement.
OK, let's talk about what this does, though, to the train service. The longer this goes on, the more one ignores the fact that technology is marching on, things are changing. Aren't you at risk of putting your members out of a job and out of work? Because, frankly, you don't need people to drive trains and to guard them in the way that you used to. You don't need staff in the way that we used to have them before, because people can do it online, they can buy their tickets, they don't need as many staff. You could be putting your members at risk, aren't you?
No, I don't think we are putting our members at risk. We have pushed back on all the changes they want to make. It's no good having an app if you've got a drunken, unsocial behaviour incident on a train station at night when women are seeking to go home from shift work, when nurses and care workers are looking for assistance on a platform. An app is no good to you if you're in a wheelchair and need to board a train with a big gap at the interface. An app is no good to you when you get disrupted train services, when you get animals on the line or trespassers or whatever. None of that works. There isn't a train in this country, and there won't be for many decades, that can be driven without a train driver. That people want a guard on the train, they want their station staffed. We saw in the 80s and 90s, when the trains were de-staffed, that they became hostile environments, muggers' paradise, if you like. We want a friendly, secure, affordable railway that's in the hands of the people, that is run in the interests of the people and not for profiteers.
But you say that the government is pursuing an ideology, but so are you. You're pursuing an ideology that says that it should be a nationalised service. You're pursuing something that says that it should be heavily staffed. You're saying that it should be heavily staffed, but we all know, I mean, for example, the DLR, which has been running for years, no drivers necessary.
There is a train captain on every DLR service who can drive the train and act as a guard. They're my members. So every single DLR train is staffed in the same way that a tube train is, and that many trains on the National Railway are. I don't want a heavily staffed railway. I want an adequately staffed railway so that people feel secure. And you won't get driverless trains for decades. So, and we are not pursuing the nationalisation of the railway in this dispute. We are pursuing a settlement on the issues of the defence of jobs, the defence of our members' conditions, and a reasonable pay rise. That's what we're after.
Okay,
We've achieved that, by the way, in Scotland and Wales and all the private sector operators that we deal with. The only people where we haven't got that agreement is where the Tory government is controlling the railway.
Just finally to you, Mick, if I may, in every dispute there must be an apportionment of blame. Surely you have to take some of it. If you were apportioning blame out of 100%, how much of that 100% goes to the government and how much to you?
Well, I don't know what blame we had to take. We were doing our jobs, and then they came to us and said, we want to get rid of thousands of your people. We're not prepared to give you a pay rise, and we want to rip up your terms and conditions. The job of a trade union under such an attack is to defend its people. That's exactly what we've done. The blame for this lies with the Tory government. If you look at the contracts, which are available to you online and in the public record, the Secretary of State is entirely responsible for industrial relations in every one of these 14 train operating companies. He sets the mandate and he tells them what they can negotiate. So the blame and the buck stops with him. OK, so you blame the government. Before I let you go, you say the public is on your side. You've just disrupted them, and back to that point, you've just disrupted them significantly. How long can you rely on their support? Well, nobody likes being disrupted. We understand that. We understand that people get disgruntled and unhappy. But when we're about the place, when I'm walking around this town and all around Britain, people come up to me and say, keep going. People toot their horns here. People stop their vehicles. People will be out on our picket lines all across Britain today.
I'm afraid you won't get that.
And they'll be supporting us.
All right, well, you won't get that support from me, Mick Lynch. However, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Why not? Look, I think you should get a pay set. You could support us if you wanted.
I
could support if I wanted, but the thing is, I don't see the picture that you see. If your members were prepared to change and adapt with technology, great. If your members were prepared to understand...
adapt to technology.
OK.
We are prepared to change and adapt to technology. We're not riding round on steam trains, are we? Well, we've got some of the most advanced rolling stock, and my members look after it.
Yeah, which we, the taxpayers, are paid for.
Advanced technology every day. Yeah, and so why do you give that money to the private sector operators when they're not running trains?
Well, they should be running trains.
Why is the government subsidising this dispute?
And why
don't you have a go at them rather than at our members?
Don't you worry, I'll be having a go at them, because I think they've negotiated as badly about this as you have.
Ask them why they have received £900 million in indemnity for not running trains during this strike.
Well, I think, yeah, but I would ask you why...
during this dispute.
Fine, I understand that,
but my members don't get paid. My members have to make the sacrifice, standing here and
the people paying the bills are not receiving the terms that you are asking for, and that's the biggest problem. You're asking for money that they are not getting, and you're expecting them to pay it.
Yeah, so that's why we support nurses, we support teachers, we support Amazon workers and any other worker that's seeking a pay rise and decent pay.
And the great big money tree that doesn't exist.
And we will stand in solidarity.
I bet you will.
Great big money tree? You are joking, aren't you?
The great big money tree. Yeah, you just wait for that.
Look up the facts about it and see
don't you start with those.
Has wasted.
Mick Lynch, you and I could argue.
See how much they're going to waste on the COVID inquiry and stupid legal.
Oh yeah, so let's not look into history and all the mistakes that were made there. Mick Lynch, look, you and I could argue all morning, but we can't. We must move on. That's Mick Lynch, RMT's General Secretary. Much appreciated. Thank you for coming on to talk.